Peace family. Peace family. We are live. We are live. Going to take a few minutes and let y'all come in. You come in. I have no idea how to.
Great and mighty walk, my people from the now the DNA is in us all. Positively thinking, yeah, you know I'm standing tall, cause you know we suffer pain. Pain will never stop. Learn to balance life, you clean it up just like a mop. You know I keep it real, I'm kicking science, that's precise. Your life is not a game, you need to do without the dice. You need to cherish your life.
Cherish your life, cherish your life, stop waiting, please stop wasting your life. Cherish your life, you should have told me, can I try, and I found my way, and please stop. Cherish your life, cherish your life, stand on your feet and try. God help me find a way. Negativity is out cause all in me. Look, give me time to pray. Ask for another day. Last for another day. Ask for another day. Look, give me one more day to try. Try to fix it all. I'm never staying down. I keep on belting like a ball. Get knowledge of myself just so you know what I'm about. And negativity, it can be gone without a doubt. Cause you know you gotta love. And then you got the pain. If every day was sunny, how you grow without the rain? We talking about the flowers, the grass, the trees, the needs. Like man and woman, husband and wife. You need to cherish your life. Cherish your life, cherish your life. Stop waiting, please stop wasting your life. Cherish your life, you should have told me, can I try, and I found my way, and please stop. Cherish your life, cherish your life, stand on your feet and try. What to do? I don't know what to do. Sometimes I'm feeling really down, I don't know what to do. Yeah, it's the truth in you. When problems come, you gotta push it through. We gotta stop and then acknowledge all the strength in you. You fight. Fight is in your soul. Put value on your life. You haven't sit like Keisha Cole. Love every day you live because you have another day to balance touch your life. Don't ever care what people say. Cause you know you got your ups. Then you got your downs. You grumpy every day. Nobody wants to hang around. We all gon' make mistakes. We learning lessons day and night. Cause life is like a school. You learning lessons wrong or right. You need to cherish your life.
All right. Peace family. Peace, peace, peace. You are tuned in to Reality Speaks, where information plus Black Power breaks the chains. We actually have a great one here for you today. We have Sister Brenda Pennington Esq, and we gonna deal with some stuff that people don't really want to deal with, that people don't want to face. Uh, Dealing with wills and trust. And in order to deal with wills and trust and all, we have to talk about the circle of life. We got to talk about, being born. We got to talk about, why we here. If something happens to us while we here on this earth, making sure that your legal paperwork is done. And ultimately, when you leave this existence and transition to the next existence, we got to talk about that. How you leave your family, how you leave your family financially, um the paperwork, just all of that. But before we do that, I just want to just basically open up by saying that reality speaks. We've been doing this consistently here for the last 3 months. We've been here coming to you live and direct. We normally would have done this at Conscious Heads Barbershop, but it was so rainy today. We said that we would actually, you know, do it on you on the stream like this instead of coming to the shop today. So we appreciate sister for coming out. I mean, for for changing up her plans and coming here today. We've been doing this again for 29 years strong. Reality Speaks has been in the community, bringing everybody to town. Last night we gave you a treat when we brought Brother James Small to town last month, and we gave y'all that treat. We gave you a whole full presentation and lecture. You can go to Reality Speaks Media to check that out. But we brought him several times. We brought him, with Dr. Ben. We brought the Francis Cress Wells, the Dell Jones, the Steve Coakley, Sister Soldier. I always do this, and I don't have the list in front of me, but we got hundreds and hundreds of lectures that we've done for 29 years. So we definitely appreciate y'all, and we just trying now to come through the social media so that we can continue to give y'all that information again for inspiration, for the purpose of elevation. So let me just start off by saying what we doing here today and why we talking about this topic about creating generational wealth.
Yes.
Me and my mom would always have these conversations. After my father passed away in 2017, definitely it got real for me. Just understanding some things. It got real for me because when my father passed away, he left me a will. And I always heard people talking about wills and things of that nature, but to actually see your name on a will and see things that's left for you on a will and having to plan like a funeral and and all those different things, it's life changing. It changes your whole perspective.
It grow you up
But
real quick.
huh?
It grow you up real quick.
Oh, it grow you up real fast. And when you gotta actually shop and create the stone, what I'm saying, that's gonna be on your pops. I mean, you gotta sit at the table, and it grows you up really fast. So from there, I saw that. I handled a lot of the paperwork with that. So I had to go back and forth downtown and set up estates and stuff that I never really knew about, but I only heard about. There were some things. I mean, like I said, he took care of his paperwork. And honestly, for some reason, we thought that a lot of stuff wouldn't be handled, but Pops he handled his stuff. Just a basic will that he had. That he passed the stuff down and passed it through. So he handled his paperwork, but it's still some things that's stronger than wills. When we start talking about the trust, and she's gonna lay all of that stuff out. From there, me and my mom, during those times, just losing so many people, watching her lose so many people during the years, and we just started talking about, hey, look, we need to make sure people got their paperwork straight, make sure people things are right and correct. And and then mom, she passed away last year. And she handled her paperwork in general. She handled her stuff, but then there was still some things that wasn't all the way tied the way that they could have been tied. However, she did an excellent job with leaving what she did. She wanted to get some things straight, but didn't realize, I mean, of course, nobody that she didn't have the time to do it in the manner that she wanted. So I appreciate that. So I had to plan her stuff out. So this is a part of fulfilling the prophecy or the legacy, like that I'm on here with Sister Brenda today, because I told her over and over again, and we talked about it, because she actually handled my paperwork and all. So this is a part of us fulfilling that prophecy, that legacy. I mean, my mom was one of the greatest people to walk this planet Earth. I think she was. And and I want to share her with the community, by giving her, her work, and giving her me, and and the people that she left here, and I just want to share her and the things that she wanted to do. So this is one of the things we wanted to do. We want to help people, talk to people about getting your paperwork straight, making sure you leave your family in a great situation. And it could be something that's really good, but a lot of people don't want to talk about this. If I was to ask people, even when they come in the barbershop, hey, you got life insurance? Hey, do you have, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? And a lot of people don't have it. And what happens is we have these funerals, where we have these transition celebrations. It's a mess. because nobody knows what, what I mean, knows what's supposed to happen. Homes get turned over to the city or the state, cars get turned over, things get, and then sometimes people do leave things through a will. People can't afford the things that they leave through a will, so they still wind up losing some of those things. So it's a lot to talk about, but it's mature conversation and stuff that we all have to talk about, because eventually we all will transition. We all will leave this existence of this earth, so we got to prepare for that and make sure that our family is strong. All right, with that being said, y'all, I hope everybody's feeling good. I hope the spirit is strong, definitely strong. And we are going to bring before you our dear sister, who has done a wonderful job, coaching me and directing me on making sure that my paperwork is straight. I'm doing my best. I got a lot. I got most of it done. Most of it is handled. I'm still working. Hopefully I get all my stuff will be done and straight, but it's pretty much almost, almost, finished. So I appreciate her. And so y'all listen, we're gonna share the link because we want you to you can actually come and join in if you have some questions after she talks in general about what's going on, and ask her some questions, because she will be available to help to handle your paperwork and do those different things. But you can ask some questions here today. So without further ado, we bring you Sister Brenda Pennington Esq. So I don't have my hand clap machine in front of me. You know what I'm saying?
That's okay.
I mean, yeah, clap.
Thank
How you
you.
feeling
Thank you
tonight, sister?
for it. I'm feeling strong, definitely strong. My spirit is strong. And I really want to
Cool.
thank you for being on your program, Reality Speaks. I'm glad to be a part of your 29-year history and growing. Congratulations to you, because it takes hard work to continue to do this work year after year after year. It takes a strong spirit. It is not for the weak.
Definite, definite, definite,
I want to
definite.
congratulate you on that. And I also want to really thank you for having the courage to get all of what you're calling your paperwork, to get your estate in order. These issues are not issues that people really want to talk about. When we talk about death or transition, as I like to call it, people really feel as if that is very impending for them, right? So they don't want to talk about it. We try to put it off. We try to delay these conversations. And so I'm really happy to be on here to be able to share what I do, and hopefully I can help others just like I helped you, because that's my purpose. So really why I went to law school, in order to be able to help my community industry. So I
Okay.
started out doing family law, and if I could just say a little bit about that, it was just really entirely too intense to do it as a solo practice. One of the first cases that I had was a mother the father was challenging her for full custody, and she wasn't. While she hired an attorney, she really wasn't trying to fight him on it. It hurt me so much to not only see the dissolution of a family, but the breakup of the family. The young man who was having a lot of issues with the mother, that I went home and cried at the end of the day. And my
Mm.
son was like, maybe you ought not to be practicing in this area of the law. So I
Uh,
really tried to think about something that would be for all of us. And estate planning was what I gravitated towards, because all of us, death is inevitable. Well, transition is inevitable, not death in the traditional European sense. But since we are living within their society, there is going to be a time when your business of living ends, and
right.
then the business of your transition begins. And I'm here to help not only the person who will eventually transition, but also their families that are left behind after the transition, in order to help them maintain their wealth. One of the things that we find, and I'm going to talk about this a little, more as we go into the program, is generational wealth. We were stripped of our generational wealth through various means, through Supreme Court decisions like the Dred Scott decision of 1857, through those Reconstruction amendments that were supposed to give us so much freedom, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, we really were stripped of our generational wealth, because right after all of that came Jim Crow. And right after all of that came the lynching of us, which many of it was Black business owners. Right after that came the destruction of our independent towns, our independent communities that we built and were able to, even though we were coming out of chattel slavery, we were still able to compete and excel beyond our European counterparts. And so all of this has to do with, there are various reasons why we find our communities where we find them today. But to me, the basis of it is the stripping away of our generational wealth. You talked about homes being turned over. For each of us, our having to pay a mortgage, having to pay rent, that's where most of your money goes to every month, right? So if you're able to leave a house to a child, to children, and they don't sell that house, because the first thing you learn in property law in law school is that real property has value and never loses its value. It's always going to appreciate. There may be some years where there is a depreciation, but it never loses its value. Mm-hmm. And that's why I encourage people to keep their real property. Real property is your land, your building, your buildings, your houses. Those are real assets. And each and every politician and president of the United States came from landowners. And that is significant because they had money. And we all know from studying our history that when in the chattel slavery era of America, you could send out your enslaved and make money that day and continue to make money and continue to be able to prosper on your land because of that. A lot of our patents were stolen during that time, and a lot of our land was taken then as it is taken now, because the Black farmers are having just as much an issue today as they had yesteryear because of all of the skullduggery that's going on and still trying to strip us from our land. And estate planning is one way in which we not only hold on to those assets that we have, grow those assets that we have, but also create generational wealth, not just for your children, but your children's children, your children's children's children, and so on and so on and so on. So that's a main reason why I practice estate planning. My firm doesn't, I'm a solo practitioner. I do have paralegals and I do bring on other attorneys as needed in cases that I take on. But I primarily practice in estate planning and estate administration. That's the probate side of it that you were talking about.
Right.
When you have a last will and testament, that is, your will remains a public document, right? So I encourage everybody to have an estate. And everybody thinks that you got to have a lot of money, to have an estate. No, your estate are your assets that you own. And that could be your real estate, your vehicle, your collectibles, your personal possessions, checking and savings account, any stocks, bonds, mutual funds, insurance policies, retirement plans, and business ownership. Let's not forget that. So there are different levels, as with everything. So when you maybe only have a checking and savings account and you don't own physical land assets, I would still recommend that you create a last will and testament. Now, with the last will and testament, you will have to go through that process called probate in order for those assets to be distributed to your heirs so that they will be able to use them. I know some of us are like, I'm not doing this process. if my mama dies, I'm just gonna try to go to the bank and get her money out of her bank account. Like I got her bank
Mm-hmm.
card. That's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah, exactly.
One way in which people also do that is to have is to put their children onto their bank accounts. But if your children are not, during your lifetime, if your children are caught up in the world and caught up in some unsavory things, or if they just are not fiscally responsible, they could drain that account before you even transition when and then you would have nothing. So I always encourage people to really think long and hard about the choices that they're going to make when creating their estate plan. Now, in my practice, I like to think, I call what we do a holistic approach, because not only are you going to get your last will and testament or your trust, a revocable living trust, an irrevocable trust, a Medicaid trust, a special needs trust. Those are types of irrevocable trust. The difference is that with the revocable trust, you can change it anytime during your lifetime. The trust maker can change it anytime during their lifetime. It only becomes irrevocable at the time of your transition. An irrevocable trust starts out with it not being able to be changed. You have to have a trustee. You do not become the initial trustee. There's a separate person who becomes the initial trustee for the benefit of someone else, like a special needs trust. Let's say that you have a child that's disabled, right? And you are coming up on retirement age, and you maybe need to go into a retirement home, so that they won't take your home and include it in your assets in order to be able to qualify to live in that assisted living place or retirement home. You can create a special needs trust in order to put that home into a trust for the benefit of your disabled child. Even if you don't have a child that's disabled, you may be able to do it through other irrevocable trusts. But I really want to pay attention to the revocable trust, because I think that's where the majority of people will fall into the category of being able to qualify for.
Right.
And why I say qualify, um, I question and I have a questionnaire that I give to my prospective clients, and I'm able to determine their specific needs, because I don't do just copying one trust from another trust. These trusts are created individually and specifically to meet the needs of the client. And in that holistic approach, there will be the pre-transition documents, which would be power of attorney for your finance and real estate matters, power of attorney for healthcare. There's something called a living will and an advanced healthcare directive. If you haven't been to the hospital, or your parents been to the hospital and they need surgery, the hospital will give you these types of forms in order to fill out, so that these documents are put into place during your lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
So a power of attorney, your advanced healthcare directives, they all terminate at your transition. What then kicks in is either your will or your trust. And I also do the HIPAA authorization, which means now we all know under HIPAA rules that your medical records are private. Your doctor cannot even discuss your medical conditions or what they're doing for you with someone who is not listed on your HIPAA authorization form. So I also include that, so that your family can be able to be apprised of what's happening to you while you're in the hospital. And then we go into whether or not you need or qualify for the last will and testament or a revocable trust. My test is very simple. If you own real estate, if you own a building, if you own land, if you have a business, I'm going to recommend that trust, right? If you don't, you still have an estate. And then I would recommend a last will and testament. Otherwise, there may be some things that you want to go to a family friend who is not in, the state takes over. If you don't have these documents, that at your transition, the state takes over and it has within their succession rules who's going to get your property. So let's say that you have a couple of children. Let's say you got, more than just two children. And one of your children, you haven't seen them in years. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're into. If you don't have an estate plan, part of your property is going to go to that child. And you may not want that property to go to that child, or you may want. So I would always say, have a will in place. In your will, you could still specify what happens, who gets what, and when. But you got to go through that process called probate. And that's what you was talking about when your father passed, that you had to go through probate. And I know that you had to go through that with your mother as well. And probate is a court process. So really, it's us going before the man saying, this is what I want to happen with my assets. And the judge can say, I don't agree, for whatever reason. Or it's very, very, very easy for people. Let's say there's a long lost cousin, right? And they come in, they intercede into this court proceeding, the probate proceeding, and say, well, I contest this will because I was supposed to get her fur coat. I was supposed to get, those great history books that she has on her shelf. I was supposed to get that car. She promised that to me 5 years ago when I came to visit her. She said, baby, I'm going to leave you this car since you like it so much, since you've helped me, do some repairs on this car. But she never wrote it down. So they can come and contest the will. And usually what happens is that you got to pay them off. I had a case one time where the gentleman was a small business owner, right? And he had bought a couple of apartment houses. He had a falling out with his family because he felt as though his family had only come to him all the time with their hand out in need. Give me, give me, give me, give me, give me. So when he created his will, and I was not the attorney that did his estate plan. I was the attorney that represented his estate during the estate administration. He had just a will, a last will and testament, when he really should have had a revocable living trust. So his family was able to contest the will and say that they were supposed to get family heirlooms. They were supposed to get a portion of his estate, even though he specifically had in his will that none of his family was to get any of this. And he had in there a sentence that said, this is not an oversight. Do you know we had to settle with them people?
Wow.
They were going to they were really going to try to strip the estate. He had a best friend that I think he met in like World War II. And while he never got married, the best friend got married, and he was always included in the best friend. They were like family. He was best man at his best friend's wedding. He went to all the holiday dinners at his best friend's house with his wife. And so he named the best friend and the wife as co-personal representatives. And the family challenged the estate being given wholly to the co-personal representatives. So they were not just the personal representatives, they were also the beneficiaries of the estate. They brought me in because they were being challenged, and we had to settle it. So the best friend and his wife, while they owned a house and everything, they didn't have the money to go through a probate challenge. Doing that can cost upwards of tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even towards it was a lot of relatives. They brought in a whole bunch of other lawyers. we were looking at maybe $85 to $100,000 lawsuit that the co-personal representatives would have had to be able to afford in order to challenge this contest. So the best thing for them to do, even though they didn't want any, even though the decedent, even though the man that transitioned did not want any of his assets to go to his family, we had to carve up the assets, dispose of, sell off assets in order to pay them off to avoid the costly lawsuit that would have ensued had they not done it. It was travesty. It
Wow.
really was.
Wow.
Um, and there wasn't anything that I could do in order to stop that process. However, had he had a revocable living trust instead of a will, we wouldn't have gone through that. So with the will, you're going to go through that process called probate. You're going to go in front of the courts. They're going to give you a schedule, and you know all about this. You have to file a petition for probate. You have to ask to be the personal representative. You have to first get your letters of administration. Once you get your letters of administration, you got to do an inventory. Then you have to marshal the assets. You have to do a
This is with no will.
no, that's with a will. This is with a will. Remember
Oh,
when you
okay.
got that
Oh,
schedule?
yeah. I know that. Yeah. Okay, I thought you said
This is with the will. This is the estate administration process. And if
okay.
you miss a date, they're gonna haul you into court under a show cause order and try to remove you as this ain't no joke. Try to remove you as a personal representative. And if there's nobody else, in order to take over, they'll do a judicial proceeding and hire another attorney that don't know nothing about you, don't know nothing about your family, in order to administer that estate. That's how we lose. That is how we lose. So if you do own property, if you do own a business, get a revocable living trust. Get a trust. And that gives you more protection. The trust is private. You do not go through probate. While you do have to still let the state know that the trust maker has transitioned, you don't go through that process where they're making decisions on your assets and on to whom the time that the person may get them and to whom may get your hard-earned assets. So you really have to consider your family's needs and how your estate can best support them. And that's one of the preliminary things that we do, one of the initial things that we do in my practice when I'm advising a client as to whether or not they should do a will or a trust.
Okay. Yeah, when my mom and dad passed away, they left the names of the personal representatives and people on the actual thing. But like you said, going through the process is something else, because they could leave you could leave somebody's name, like you said, on something, and they may not be able to afford the process. You know what I'm saying? Because if they
Yeah.
leave your name and say there's a bill, like a big bill that's owed, and you know what I'm saying, and you can't pay that bill, they not, you know what I mean, you may have to come off of the property because you can't afford to pay the bill. You know what I'm saying? Could be
Yeah,
five.
you're talking about a tax bill or something.
Yeah. Or some kind of lien that somebody attached.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we help clients through those difficult processes. I see that we have some questions.
Yeah, we can if actually, brother, if you want to come in, peace, how you feeling? If you want to come in, we can actually, let's put the link here for those. Let me put the link here.
Can I go ahead and answer the question?
Yeah, no, you can
He
answer the
asked,
question. I was just putting the link in case
okay,
they
he
wanted to
asked,
join.
is it
And
feasible to get a revocable trust with an option to flip it to irrevocable upon death. So a revocable trust, you don't need an option to flip it. It's automatically going to become irrevocable since you have transitioned, because you can change it. The word revocable means you can take it away at any time. You can amend it, modify it, alter it anytime during your lifetime, right? It automatically becomes irrevocable at your death, at your upon death, or at your transition, as I like to say. So you don't have to have the option to flip it. It's going to do so automatically, can no longer be changed, because when you're dealing with an estate plan, you remember back in the day when we always heard about last will and testaments, you had to be of sound mind and
Yeah.
body. Well,
Yeah.
those requirements are still in play today.
Yeah.
It's your decision. So I tell my clients that it's your decision. I know that your oldest child or your favorite child might be the one who's helping you make monetary decisions during your lifetime, but I always impress upon them it's your decision, and you got to make those decisions, or your other heirs can say that favorite child, that oldest child, has done undue influence on you to give them more of your estate than you otherwise might have done, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So that goes into why it becomes irrevocable at your death, because you are no longer able to make those decisions and to make those changes. So that's why it becomes irrevocable at your death.
Right. Right. So explain how you can gain generational wealth exactly from actually, uh uh I guess
From doing your estate
going through
plan,
this process.
sure. You gain it because at each and every one of our generations, you remember when I talked about earlier about how much of our money we spend on rent or we spend on a mortgage. You're
Right.
not starting over when
Right.
you are able to transfer a house upon your death to a beneficiary. I mean, to an heir or a beneficiary, to your child, to your children. Then they're not starting over from scratch, having to get that 20% to put down on a mortgage, having to pay those mortgage payments. Let's say that you're able to give them that house and all they got to do is pay the taxes on it every year. So that's how we create generational wealth. We also do it by, if you have a business, transferring that business to someone in your family who's able to carry that business on. I also talk about and include in my plans legacy planning. Let's say that you have African art, African art collectibles, and that's part of legacy planning, where we are able to take our personal possessions that have not just sentimental value, but have monetary value. And I will get into sentimental value in a minute because that's very important as well. Those collectibles, and we're able to keep that in the family. That's part of creating and generating generational wealth. But there's also wealth that we have and our families that don't have nothing to do with economics. Like my passion, if anybody knows me, is that I love to cook. And upon the passing of the matriarch of my family, I was able to get her cookbook, which I will pass along to others in my line. That cookbook, her recipes, her handwritten notes have so much value to me. And that's what I call part of legacy planning, that we pass that on, just as you have done with your businesses. I see that all the time when you're posting on Facebook, how your father, you're able to pass on those skills and pass on the things that he has taught you to your children. That's part of what we have as a tradition in our families.
Definitely. So I'll tell you this. I have benefited from, I guess, generational wealth, like in two different places. You know what I mean? I own two of my family homes. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm, mhm.
My mom and dad bought a house in 1974, and I was born 1975, and I live at that house right now. When
That's
I came,
beautiful.
I've been living back here for like 4 years, and and my children and my soon-to-be wife, I'm saying, Monica, all live here. Now, I was here as even my little boy, I was here at his age. He's almost 3 years old. We left when we was 5,
Mhm.
but I can just remember going up and down the same steps, sleeping in the same room, and it's a very spiritual experience for
It
me to be
is.
able to
It is a
come back
spiritual connection.
to my
Mhm.
roots. I mean, I was, I always used to say I was conceived in this house, and my mom be like, "Boy, what you talk?" What I mean? But I really was, what I mean? In this house, and so it's a blessing to come back here. But before I came back here, my grandmother and grandfather, my maternal grandparents bought a house in 1950. Well, I think 1940 something, what I mean, on the east side of Baltimore. And
Mhm.
my before my
Mhm.
grandmother passed away, she had gave me in the earliest when I was married, my first marriage, I was able to take my wife and children at the time there. And so for my first family to raise them in the house that my grandmother and grandfather actually had bought. So I'm
Right.
all over, I'm saying, I'm the living legacy of my ancestors. Like I am my
Right.
ancestors, and and like I said, two different places to be able to raise families in those places. So I know because I'm living
Yes.
what you actually talking about.
Right. And not only do you have the houses, that was able, those houses, you were able to then build your barbershop business
Exactly,
because of that.
exactly, exactly.
So
From
you were able to
leveraging.
build a sustainable business because you already had the generational wealth that was creating more wealth for you
Exactly.
to branch out into business.
Exactly. It's beautiful. Like I said, it's nothing like, because I don't know a lot of people who get to go back to the exact same place where, what I mean? Like I said, I was here when we left when we was 5. Then I went to the other location, what I mean, from at least 5
Oh,
to
okay.
like 12, and stayed there. And then but lived the majority of my life over at the house that my grandparents had bought and all, so now my sister stays there, so we constantly just, what I mean, living the legacy and
That's
and
right.
add knowing. I know our grandparents probably had no idea that they would have generations of, grandchildren coming through, because it's great grands coming through now. And yeah, so it's beautiful. I'm telling you, it's the best feeling in the world when you can
Yes.
stand in and you feel like you're holding down the legacy of your
Yeah, it is.
parents, what
It
your
is.
parents did, and you're holding down the legacy of your grandparents, and it makes you really
That's
honor
right.
and respect your ancestors
Yes.
even more, because
Yes.
you're like, man, what I mean, like, look, I got this, I'm holding this down, like I got it, I got the throne, and I'm handling the throne, so
That's
it's a
right.
great thing.
That's right.
We do have a somebody that wants to join in. Hold on one second. Brother said, you there?
Yeah. Hey, Jabari, how are you? This is Sadarin.
Stern,
How
what's
you
going on? What's
doing?
going on, bro?
What's going on, brother? How are you?
Yeah,
How you doing,
I
my
think I
sister?
get. Did I pass her number to you before?
You did. That's what I was hopping on.
Oh, okay,
So
got you.
I know you did
Wonderful.
pass the number
Wonderful.
on. So I did have that question I was asking about was centered around because I've always heard to start off by giving a living trust, and then you want to put some wording in that trust to say, okay, once you pass on, you want it to go irrevocable, right?
Well, that happens automatically, yes. But
Okay.
there is a provision specifically in the trust that I create
Okay.
that does that. Yes. And I
Okay.
want to say another thing. So I remember I talked about the process being private. So when you go to trade, so funding is a large part of this. And
Hmm.
I told Jabari that I would really focus on this after we create the trust, right?
Right.
There's a process that I do in my practice. We have an initial meeting, we have a review meeting, then we have a signing meeting. After
Okay.
that signing meeting, you have to quote unquote fund that trust. You got to change all your assets into the name of the trust.
Okay.
You know how the Europeans have made everything a person. A
Of course.
corporation is a person pursuant to the 14th Amendment.
I
Same
have
with your
plenty of
trust.
those, my
It
sister.
becomes a person, right?
Yes.
So you have to transfer your assets into the name of the trust. So when you
Okay.
go to the bank is always going to require that you bring them that entire trust. Well, what's the
Right.
sense of bringing them that entire trust after I done created it and told you that it was private, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what I always include, because I have about 14 documents that accompany my trust agreements, my
Okay.
trust plans, right? And two of them, one's called a certification of trust, the other is called the trustee's affidavit. And you take that to the bank along
Mm-hmm.
with a couple of other pages that shows the creation of the trust, the notary signature, the execution of the trust, and it also shows when the trust becomes irrevocable. I think that's in section 5 of the trust or something like that.
Okay.
That you don't need to know all that. That's just me being
Right.
detail oriented. But you take that to the bank instead of taking everything that shows who you're leaving your property to, how much they're getting, who your heirs are, who your beneficiaries are, because that's the part that you really want to remain private.
Right.
That's the part that you've decided between you and you. You just came to me in
Right.
order to put it down on paper. Because I don't keep, while I have a draft of all of the trusts that I create, I don't keep a copy of it. What I do is I put everything into a binder that has an estate planning binder. It has your name on it. I tell you to put that into a safe place.
Right.
I don't encourage people to make copies of the trust itself. You're going to need to make copies of your powers of attorney because
Right.
you're going to need to give that during your lifetime. Let's say if you go into the hospital, you get sick, you have long-term illness, but I don't encourage the reproduction of the trust because it is to remain confidential and private.
Now, can you actually roll in uh, provisions for, let's say you become disabled, maybe you
Mm-hmm.
can't talk anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to be able
Yes.
to add that particular type of health thing. I want them to take care of me up to this point. After this
Yes.
point, if it doesn't happen, just let me go. Do you actually
Yes.
add things like that in as well?
Yes, so the beauty of a trust and the beauty of doing a will, but we're focusing on trust right now,
Right.
is that you can add all the provisions that you want. So you can have a guardianship or conservatorship provisions
Perfect.
within your trust. You can also have guardianship provisions regarding any child.
Hmm.
But to answer your question, yes, you are able to do that without
Okay.
me
What
getting
about
all
spendthrift? You
long-winded
do
and going over.
spendthrift as well?
Yes, they are
Okay, because I
spendthrift
have two
provisions.
grandchildren
Absolutely.
that I want to use that for, just in case anything happens, right? So I want to be
Okay.
able to create a spendthrift for my grandchildren.
Yes.
My children are in their 30s, almost 40. So whatever is whatever. But my grandchildren, I really want to focus on that, right?
Yes.
Um,
Yes,
as
your
far as
trust do include
funding,
that, but you also can make, even more specific language, however you want it, because it is your trust and it's customizable. And as I said, we do that for each and every one of our clients. It's
gotcha,
tailored to your needs.
gotcha. Okay, all right, that's perfect.
So I'll be
Last
hearing from you
question.
soon, right?
Yeah, last question. Do you actually
Sure,
do business trust as well?
I do. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Because I have a business. Jabari knows this. I have a business that I've been running for 3 years, and I'm actually working through that business, doing contracts. But I want to get out of. I want to get not rid of it, but I want to be able to move and shift that into a business trust and actually do private contracting through the business trust and not really involve the state, the Secretary of State or Maryland for that
Okay.
matter.
All right.
So I want to be able to keep my contracts private if I can. So yeah, that'd be great. Okay.
Right.
I
Okay.
appreciate
All
it.
right.
Thank you.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks, Jabari.
So
Definitely.
can
Oh,
I, right, yes. So PenningtonFirmLaw@gmail.com. Can I also, where can I write the, how they can get in contact with me?
with
My
you.
office address, telephone number,
Yeah,
yeah.
can you where it say post a comment? Can you post in there, or are you able to
It
post?
says
Are
join
you?
the chat. Is that what I hit?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
I put your for anybody that's listening, her email. We just put an email inside the chat.
Connect the comment, I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it should be
I'm
connect a
not that.
comment, and it should say post a comment on there.
I actually saw the email in the chat. I have your email in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, I just put your
Yes,
email
post
in
a
there.
comment. I'm going to also put the firm name. Lord have mercy. That's me hitting the
Okay.
button enter. I apologize. Lord.
It's all good. Yeah,
I
so
got to keep remembering that I can't hit enter to go to another line. But anyway, I'm adding in the office address because I do have an office address where we do all our signings. The initial meeting and the review meeting can be online through Zoom, but the actual signing and execution of the documents with your two witnesses and your notary, we meet at my office. So I'm just putting that in here, and then I'll put my office number.
All right,
And I'm
Jabari, we'll
right
have you
down
as a
to
witness.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. I
All
definitely
right.
do that.
I'm gonna drop off.
All right,
Thank you for everything. Thanks, Jabari.
all right, appreciate you, bro.
absolutely.
Yeah, so family, so it's we having real conversation here, and I know this is a dreaded conversation for
Oh,
a
let's
lot of
fix that.
people, but life happens, and I'm just telling you, it happens. And it's nothing like even being in a hospital, like she talking about the power of, like, for power of attorney. And many of us don't, I know we don't even have power of attorney for one another, because if somebody is in
Yeah.
the hospital and they're not able to talk and they're not able to answer for themselves, and you got to put some money in the bank or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't have power of
Bills got to
attorney,
get paid, right? Yeah.
the bills are going to stop getting paid. So I had, I mean, even with my one my half sister who passed away, she had life insurance, and she actually fell into a coma. And when she fell into that coma, you know what I'm saying, like, her life insurance had canceled. And so therefore, when she did
Oh
pass away,
wow.
when she tried to get life insurance, she was trying to get, she had so many health problems. They was $600-700 a month. Like, who can really afford, what I'm saying, 600-700-800 a month life insurance during, from that. So she wasn't able to have it. So when she passed away, we all had to help, of course, what I'm saying, to, to bury her, because, people didn't have the documents. So stuff like while you are living, what else uh since do people need to, like, while you living? I know you talk about the living will, or explain the
Yes.
importance of living will and the power of attorney.
Sure. So your power of attorney allows the person that you've picked, and I always tell people to pick more than one person. They don't have to serve at the same time. They can serve at the same time. It's all up to what you want. But your power of attorney allows someone to stand in your shoes to handle your business affairs. That's why there are two different types. There's a power of attorney for finance and real estate. So they're able to go to the bank, handle your banking business. They're able to pay your mortgage. They're able to do what, because my power of attorney is 19 pages long, and there are a lot of
Yeah.
powers that are included in that. They can challenge let's say that you in a lawsuit. They can stand in your shoes to challenge that lawsuit while you are incapacitated. Um, they have the power to do a lot of things. That's why I tell people, think long and hard about who you give these powers to, because they can, if they're not a trustworthy person, they can steal your estate.
Right, right.
The other one you asked about was a living will. So that's if you, when you uh, choose whether or not you want to be on life sustaining apparatus, whether or not you want life support. Most of us, the majority of my clients do not choose life support, because that is not it is an
Right,
individual choice. But we
right.
have found that it is very hard for the family to go through the deterioration and the process of dying with the person when they're on life support. But it is an individual choice. But those documents allow you to choose that. And there's also the healthcare power of attorney. So that allows the person who becomes your healthcare attorney in fact. I'm an attorney in law, right? When you choose your agent through your power of attorney, they become your attorney in fact. The person who you choose to allow to do that can make healthcare decisions for you.
Mm.
You take a
And
copy of that. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna try. You take a copy of that to the hospital. I've tried to post my comment twice, and it says this comment has failed to post to Reality Speaks Media. I don't know what I'm doing, but I could give it to you right now. My office phone number, which is
yeah,
one.
you could go ahead and say it.
Okay, 1-667-900-8710. And you can always get me through the email that
Say it one
Jabari
more
posted.
time.
1-667-900-8710.
Okay, all right. I'll post that in
All right, thank you.
post that in the chat also.
Yeah, and my location is 300 East Lombard Street. That's Suite 840. I'm right across the street from the Inner Harbor, Baltimore, Maryland 21202.
Right. Definitely get in touch. And I'm just telling you, family, like you got to think about. I mean, I know you living every day, and you know what I mean, and you think that you ain't gonna get sick and things ain't gonna happen. You got to think about more than yourself now,
Yeah,
because a lot of people are very, very selfish in thinking. Let's be honest. Some people like, man, you know what I'm saying, I'm healthy and I do this, and I ain't, don't got the health care taken care of, and so what happens is when people get into these situations and when you do get sick, people don't have this paperwork taken care of. And then people wind up having to sacrifice their life,
yeah,
their money, and their things
yeah.
to try to make sure that you get proper health care. They can't hardly make decisions because they don't have the power of attorney. You know what I mean? They don't
Right.
have the living will. They can't make the decisions that need to be made. I know because, like I said, when my mom was there, we had to make decisions for her. You know what I'm saying? That we had to make, and some of them we couldn't make because we didn't have power of attorney, and she
Because it
was getting
was too
healthy
late.
enough.
Right.
Exactly. We were trying to get
Yeah.
her healthy enough to sign, and she was actually getting there to a point, you know what I'm saying? But she still wasn't to the point where she could sign the document, but she almost was there. You know what I mean? So I'm just telling you, I lived this situation. As many of us who live this situation, and telling people you cannot be selfish. I know when my pops passed away, that's when I did have life insurance before that, but it was very small. But when he passed away, that's when I really took it serious. And I was like, wait a minute, let me get on top of my stuff, because I don't want to leave my children or my family in that situation. It's bad.
Mhm,
It's bad enough
mhm.
to already be in mourning, and you got to mourn in those
Right.
different things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's
But then
not
when
a
you got to
time where,
mourn,
yeah,
when you got to mourn and come up with the finances and the, you know what I mean, for everything
and
you
do
need
the
now.
paperwork. It's too
Yeah,
much. It's too
exactly,
much.
exactly.
It's
Now
too
you
much.
missing a person you loving, but then you mad at him at the same time. Like, come on, why'd you leave me in this type of situation? You
Yeah.
know, so you got to be real serious. So make sure your health care is taken care of. Make sure your life is. So we're gonna be doing this, and man, we hope that Sister Pennington can be our lawyer here. You know what I mean? At one of our lawyers here at Reality Speaks, and keep coming back over and over again,
Absolutely.
talking
Absolutely.
and having these conversations where we actually gonna be putting on some workshops, fam. We're gonna be putting on some workshops where we're gonna have her involved, her and other people. Some people talking about life insurance, other aspects that we need to cover, because you say you're a man, you say you're a woman, you about, you know what I mean, like, yeah, it's about my family, it's about this and that. But hey, you got life insurance? Hey, do you have
Right.
trust? Do you have this? And it's like, I know I don't. Well, you cannot leave your family in this type of situation.
That's
And this is
right.
going on all over the country, everywhere, for our scholars. Many different people,
That's right.
when they pass away, they can't even get the type of funeral that they want, you know what I mean, by the people that
That's
they
right.
love. Families take over. A person was, say, they wasn't even a Christian. You know what I'm saying? They was into a whole nother religion, whatever, but they wound up getting a Christian funeral, something that they wasn't even into during that time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Right. I just want to interject here. I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that I include in my package, right, is memorial memorandum.
Right.
You get to specifically say what you want, how you want your services, who you want to officiate, all of that. And I include that free of charge.
Good, 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 good. That's definitely important. Just where I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. Just want to ask you a few more questions. Now, do you
Sure.
have like what's the so far as because I know a lot of people don't like when somebody does pass away. What's the percentage of? I mean, and I know you probably don't have direct figures in the Black community, like of uh, how many people, maybe a percentage of people handle their paperwork correctly. I don't know if they have any percentages that's out there right now. How many times do
Right. Well,
people
if
when
you
they
come to
have?
me, it's 100% to handle it correctly. But
Okay.
irrespective of that, I have read statistics that only like maybe 1/8 of us as a community, a collective, are taking care of their paperwork.
Woo.
We
Mm.
really do shy away from, and we leave it. You know how they talk about leaving money on the table?
Yeah.
We're leaving our assets out there to be taken over and not to be distributed to our heirs. That's why I
Mm.
keep pushing this idea of generational wealth, creating generational wealth. They have um, they have decided law cases against us creating generational wealth. As I stated earlier about the Reconstruction Amendments, that, the 14th Amendment was supposed to be created by us, but it was like I ain't learned none of this in law school. Let me tell you, who
Right.
taught me all of this? Dr. Claude Anderson.
Mm.
Yes, he did.
Mm.
He taught me all of this. He don't even know me personally,
Right.
but I listened to all his lectures. I went to all the workshops that he did, and I started to do my own research. I'm telling my lawyer counterparts, and they don't even know this information that I'm sharing about how everything was created to strip us of financial wealth, financial independence, generational wealth. 75% of our generational wealth was stripped of us during our enslavement.
Wow.
75% of our money is with the European right now.
Mm. Mm.
And those statistics are very daunting. And now that we can create it, we're not. We always say that our enemy did a great job on this brainwashing, on getting us to do what he wanted us to do. And I'm here to change that narrative.
Right. Right. Well, we glad we got strong lawyers like you in our midst. Can you read that statement there? You said.
Sure, if you don't own property but have a large amount of money in retirement funds, should you do a revocable trust? Yeah. Point blank period. Yes, you should do a revocable trust. Absolutely.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
you have another comment. The 14th Amendment is what created person and corporized us. Yes, it did. Yep, that's absolutely the truth. It is under the 14th Amendment that a corporation is seen as a person.
Mm.
And we can have another evening on that, talking about the legal ramifications of that and how that has affected us as living persons in the United States.
Oh, don't worry. You coming back? Well, we got a lot of work and a lot of workshops to do because, like
Yeah.
you said, it's about the generational wealth. It's about us coming together and so talk about real quick. So the process. Okay, somebody wills. You know what I'm saying? Or even in the trust, leaves their property to their children. They got maybe 3 children, but the children don't get along. You know what I'm saying? At that point, you know what I'm saying? They can't really agree on what to do with things. What happens when, and this is something that happens all the
It
time.
is. It
You know what I
happens
mean?
every day.
Yeah,
It really does.
because they get the properties, and then a lot of them with the elders left, they want to take the properties and actually sell them. Some of the elders had
Yeah.
a lot of land they had
Yes.
purchased, and then people argue about wherever they're gonna keep the land, wherever they're gonna sell it. Sell the land. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
can you talk about that?
Sure. Well, in my practice, I don't encourage you leaving your property to multiple children. I do not. If you have a lot of it, Leave it individually. You got land in Maryland, you got land in Virginia, you got land in South Carolina. Leave it to one individual at a time, right? But you're gonna do what you're gonna do, right? So in that situation, there's nothing I can do to persuade them to keep the property. I mean, if they come to me and we are um, putting that trust, they let's say that if they have a will, you don't have to go through the same process that you have to go through with the trust. If it's a trust, they're going to be creating new deed. You do a personal representative's deed so that the property can be transferred to the people that you left that property to. You're right. 9 times out of 10, they're going to sell it. Or, and this is something that sometimes I have seen, there's one child who's able to buy out all of the other people in the group, and they are able to keep the property within the family. But that takes somebody who's well situated financially in order to do that.
Right,
But
right,
that's
right,
one of the reasons that I really counsel not to leave one piece of property to multiple children, because
right,
inevitably they're not going to get along. They're just
right,
not. One child
right,
wants to do one thing. I think we should do this. I think we should do that. And it ends up being sold. And that destroys the purpose for which the parent was leaving that property to them so that it could stay in the family, like it did in your family. Y'all got
right,
along. It's not in every family
right,
that you're
right,
going
right,
to have
right,
contention and that you're not going to be getting along. It's just the majority of families.
right. Speaking of that, what about the King, Martin Luther King's family? You know what I'm saying, and their estate planning. Have you heard of all the mess that they've had all through the years?
Yes, I have. Also, not just with King, but with a lot of the celebrities. Remember what happened with Prince's estate, Michael Jackson's estate, and um, there's a lot going on because they have these great assets, these great monetary assets that are tied up in their celebrity. Um, so I don't think that any of them had a trust. I'm not sure about the particulars of, I've just heard what I've heard through the news, and you can't always uh, go by what the news is telling you.
Right,
Because I
right,
do
right,
know, I don't understand why Prince didn't. I know his attorney, and I don't know why his entertainment law attorney. This was not his estate planning attorney. So when in that realm, I don't. There may be other issues that were going on as to how their estates may have gotten out of the hands of the family, because there were so many other hands from the entertainment industry that were
right,
involved in their estate.
right,
But
right.
that's
And they
why
got
it's
people.
so important that you choose people that you trust, and you have it written down on paper, and you get it properly witnessed and notarized.
And you had people like I think Aretha Franklin. She had problems with
Yep,
her
her as well. Yes.
estate planning,
Yeah.
and a host of people who, you know what I mean, who went away, who had, I guess, a lot of assets and different things, who really
Yeah.
didn't handle their paperwork. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I said, family, this just about you not being selfish. You know what I'm saying? And I know we just getting the hustle and bustle every day, paying bills, running here, running there, stressed out. And a lot of that stress is what really causes a lot of us to even have the heart attacks and the strokes and
Yes,
all
it
those
does.
different things
It does.
also, because we way stressed out. So just know that you got to sit down and think like, look, I got to make sure that my family is okay. And like I said, the only reason that
Right.
I can say it, you know what I'm saying, where I'm thankful to the creator, is that, you know what I mean, I actually did live it, and I saw it, and I felt it. And when you feel it, and you feel it, when you feel it, that's why it's like, oh, this is part of the ministry. This is part of Reality Speaks. This is part of what
Yes,
we're gonna be
yes,
doing. You know, I mean, these workshops and stuff. And I kept, I've been telling you that for years. I was like, look, this is part of it, sis. You know what I mean? And my mom was there when we first started doing it. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, so it's like, nah, we gotta
yeah.
continue to do it. We gotta put it out there. This is a part of what she wanted to get out. It's a part of what I want to get
Hmm.
out. And you know what I'm saying? And this is just one aspect of life that we gotta handle. It's a lot of
Yes,
happy
it
aspects
is.
and
It
different things
is.
like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But you should be happy for your own resurrection when you like Brother Small said, when your mother and father came together, they recreated themselves. You know what I'm saying? So you actually just
Yes.
recreating another structure for yourself again. You know what I mean? So that so
That's
that
very true. That's right.
know
Yes, he did talk about that.
so
And it
to make
also, when
sure.
you retain an attorney to handle this aspect of living, you're taking that burden off of you so that you can really memorialize your loved one instead of having to then close down the business of their life. You're getting that type of stress off of you and off of your family, and it's a really great gift that you could give to your family.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, 50-year journey, for your $50 donation. We really appreciate that. And we got a lot more coming your way. Y'all know we got the classic lectures that we have. We got tons. We got so many lectures that we going old school lectures that we're gonna be putting up. We got new lectures, new presentations, new workshops. We're gonna continue to come. We headed towards the 30-year anniversary. Like I said, be 29 years this year in October. And we just thank y'all for years of support. We here in the social media world now. Sister Pennington, we really thank you for joining us here today. Did you want to say anything else before we close out?
I just want to say that I know that these decisions are hard decisions. I know that these are things that you don't want to think about, but transition is inevitable. Do yourself a favor and give your heirs and beneficiaries the gift of your life by preserving your assets for them.
Definitely.
Okay.
Family, if you could hit the like button, you know what I'm saying? Hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. We are growing. Need your support. We really appreciate y'all. And thank you again, sister, for coming on. And this is just
Absolutely. My
this is
pleasure.
just the beginning of a long journey of us, helping to build our community and building generational wealth. We appreciate you for coming on.
But thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Peace.
All right. Peace.